I'm going to talk about the discipline that you need to work remotely. The original way I was going to film this video was talk about the specific disciplines that you need when you're working abroad and also when you're working from home under the umbrella of working remotely. Actually, as I started recording, it crystallized in my mind and I realized the actual only discipline that you need is the discipline to do what you say you're going to do. That's for most areas of life, but let's talk specifically about working remotely and why that is the main discipline that you need, or even the only discipline you need, which is, do you do what you say you're going to do? And then later in the video I will talk about some specific times where that discipline gets tested, both when you're at home and when you're abroad. Okay, so why is the ability to do what you say you're going to do the most important discipline you need for working remotely? And in my mind, the main reason for this is that unlike being in an office setting where you're around other people who have a vested interest in you completing the work, there's much fewer instances where there's someone looking over your shoulder or someone in the room that you have to quote unquote look busy for. Yeah, obviously there's some jobs where they time track you and they have software on your computer where they're taking screenshots of the screen. I know Upwork does that. Quite a lot of companies have time tracking software where you have to log your time, but the majority of jobs where you're working remotely, that person is trusting you to just get on with it and do what you say you're going to do. So if you don't do that, you're going to get fired. So that's clear. That is why doing what you say you're going to do is the most important discipline. There isn't really any other discipline that you need. It's just, do you do what you say you're going to do? Now let's talk about some specific examples where that discipline gets tested, both when you're at home and also, sorry, it's a bit shaky. I need a new camera setup actually. I'm holding it with my arm now. I need something which keeps it a bit higher so that I'm more in the frame. If you have any tips for that, please leave a comment below for what you use for this. Okay, so a specific example of being tested on your discipline when you're at home. There's quite a lot more food available at home. You're probably going to go to the fridge a lot more often and start snacking. It's quite easy to have friends over or nip to the shop when you're working remotely at home. You're around all of your hobbies if your hobbies are mostly home-based. Everything that you would do to be at home, everything that you would do at home when you're working remotely from home is at your fingertips. It also means that there's no separation. Sorry, it's probably a bit windy. It also means that there's no separation between your working environment and your home environment. And so getting into the mindset of each of those can be a little bit trickier. And so if you're working and your discipline is good, maybe that's fine. But if you're a bit lacking on the discipline side, then that not having a clear barrier between where you're working and where you're eating, sleeping, living, that can be a bit challenging. What I really want to talk about is when you're abroad, because that's where I find it the most challenging, right? Imagine you arrive in a new area, you get there Sunday night, you know you're going to be working in the morning, on Monday morning, probably at 9 if you're working a job. You have only just arrived in this brand new area, maybe you've never been before. If you're like me, what you really want to go and do is go and spend hours and hours wandering around, seeing everything new that's there. That is extremely tough to do if you also have to sit down. Yeah, if you also have to sit down and work, that's extremely hard to do. Excuse me. Just to sit down and work when you've got a whole new place to explore in front of you is a real test of can you do what you say you're going to do? Can you sit there and do what you say you want to do, even when you don't want to do it? Love Hamza's quote on this. You know, do the hard thing even when you don't feel like it. And then he does that whole mwah thing, which I'm not going to do, apart from just then. Yeah, it's hard when you want to go and explore somewhere that you've never been before, and it's right there, and you're sat there for 8 hours looking at the screen doing the same thing that you've been doing. Whew, that's tough. Okay, the next one. Let's say this isn't so bad if you're in a hotel or you've got an Airbnb, because you have to actively go out in order to find the people which are about to distract you and be the next test of the discipline. But if you're working remotely in a hostel, there's maybe 30 other people there which want to party. And unless you are extremely disciplined, you are going to party, you're going to wake up hungover, it's going to be harder, and then you're more likely to go and do it all again. So this video really started as, what are the disciplines that you need for working remotely? But actually, there's one discipline that you need to work remotely, and that's the ability to sit down and do what you say you're going to do, even when you're faced with an unlimited amount of options that you'd rather be doing. If you found this valuable, leave a comment, give a like on the video, and yeah, follow me for more stuff like this. Bye.